come the drums.
Live from the AM950 studios in the Twin Cities and restrained only by FCC regulations, this is Pardon the Dissent. Now here is your host and agitator, Joey Vincent.
Hello, hello, hello. It is Monday night. It is 11 p.m. Central Standard Time. And what are all the cool kids doing tonight? Listening to Pardon the Dissent. That's what you're doing. Welcome to the show. This is Pardon the Dissent. My name is Joey Vincent. Welcome. Glad to have you. Today's date, August 10th, 2015. I'm joined, of course, by my right-hand man, the studio magic mastermind, Tony Williamette. How are you doing, Tony?
I'm not even supposed to be here today.
It's good. Your voice has really changed lately.
I'm well. How are you, sir?
Doing well. Tony, we got some great sponsors, don't we?
We do.
Our sponsors here at Pardon the Dissent, Bell Bonds Doctor, that's our title sponsor, our numero uno. We also have natural, pure drinking water, the only drinking water that I drink, and also the only drinking water that my dog drinks. That's how serious I am about this. Minnehaha Recording Company, that is another one of our wonderful sponsors. Stupid Simple Branding, and Scotty and the Don. And it's kind of cool tonight because the Scotty and the Don from Scotty and the Don are actually in the studio tonight listening into the show. So that's kind of cool. Can we get some applause? We got a button for that? Is that what we got?
They're hanging out here in the control room.
They're doing that.
It's good to have them.
They're watching you push buttons. It's probably just thrilling to them. If you guys want to check out our sponsors, and I want you to check out our sponsors because your support of our sponsors supports the show, please go to pardonthedissent.com, pardonthedissent.com. Go to the sponsor link, click on the sponsor link, and it will take you to all the little logos of all the cool sponsors. And all you have to do is click onto those sponsor logos, and it will take you to their websites, and you can check out all the cool stuff that they do. Also, when you visit there, you'll be able to see all the podcast options for Pardon the Dissent because all these live shows do get released as podcasts, and also we do a once-a-week direct-to-podcast show. That's the only way you can hear it. Like, it's not going to be on the radio. It's just a podcast show. So, yeah, 2 shows a week. One of them you have to listen to as a podcast, and then also you can hear these ones in case you don't want to stay up on a Monday night. You just want to listen in later. We will take phone calls tonight. It may be kind of limited. It's probably going to be towards the middle of the show, but feel free to call in now and get your place in line if you want to. It's 952-946-6205. Again, 952-946-6205. And just a little wink and a nod to what we're going to be talking about. I may upset some people. Yeah. Can you believe that, Tony? I may make somebody upset with my opinions. Yeah, that may happen tonight. It may. We'll see what happens. I'm going to be talking about the interruption of Bernie Sanders this weekend at his political speechy thing that he was doing. And my position on what happened may not be the most popular one. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But feel free to come in and call in and disagree. That's what the show is about. You don't just have to dissent with me. You can dissent against me. And I'd be happy to go back and forth with you on that. And maybe you can change my mind. Maybe not. We'll see. Let's talk first, kind of get going here. I guess it was it yesterday, Tony, that was the 1-year anniversary of Mike Brown's?
I believe so. Okay,
it was yesterday. It was within the past few days, and I apologize. I don't have that right here in front of me. I guess we're going to call it anniversary of, and I refer to it as the murder of Mike Brown. That's what I refer to it as. Some people don't agree with that position. Again, we're talking about the Mike Brown that was killed last year by the Ferguson Police Department in Ferguson, Missouri. And again, I am not sold on that being a rightful shoot. So to me, that is a murder or manslaughter, but whatever. But that it's been a year. It feels like it was a lot longer than that, but it's only been a year. And there were protests in Missouri, in the Ferguson area, St. Louis area there, in regards to that. And sadly, unfortunately, in the mix, there was a shooting as well that happened Sunday night. And the gentleman's name, who I don't have it right in front of me right now, who was shot, where is it at? There it is, Tyrone Harris, 18 years old, was actually a friend of Mike Brown. And according to reports, he had allegedly opened fire on Ferguson police officers. I don't think that he hit anybody, but they returned fire, and he is currently in critical condition in the hospital. He was hit. He is charged with 4 counts of first-degree assault on a law enforcement officer, 5 counts of armed criminal action, and 1 count of discharging a firearm out of a moving vehicle, and is being held. Well, he's in critical condition, so he can't really go anywhere anyway, but if he could bond out, it would be a $250,000 bond. I do want to point out that there is an enhancement on the charge of the assault. It was 4 counts of first-degree assault on a law enforcement officer. I remember I talked on a podcast a couple podcasts ago about how when you do something to police, you get extra charged, but it's not the same way around. But there was protests that have happened, outside of just the violence that happened. That protesting continued today. It led to the arrest of, I think there was a protest at the courthouse. It led to the arrest of 56 people. And there was also the arrest of a few people, of the large group of people who actually blocked I-70, a 10-lane highway in the St. Louis area there, too. It was only for like about 20 minutes. State police broke it up or whatever. So that's what's going on. It's still going on tonight. We might check back in, see what's going on with that. And there was also local protests for people who listen here in Minnesota. There was a Minnesota to Ferguson protest, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that when we come back from break. So it's going to be a lot of tension topics tonight. We're talking race, we're talking police, we're talking Bernie Sanders. So strap yourself in. We'll be right back. Pardon the dissent.
Don't you know, talking about a revolution sounds whisper. Where people gonna rise
up? Hello?
Oh, man, I'm really in a world of hurt now.
Really? How long have you been there?
I don't really know, but I have to be at work tomorrow.
Oh, man, you gotta call the doctor.
Really? But it's so late, and doctors make me nervous. Maybe I should just wait here and see if this gets any better.
No, trust me. The Bell Bonds doctor is always the best option, and he's available 24/7. Unlike other Bell Bondsmen, this guy is extremely trustworthy and professional. He can get you out in no time. Give him a call.
One day, even you could find yourself needing the help of a bail bond service. That's why you should know there is a professional, dependable, and affordable option. Bail Bonds Doctor. Before you find yourself in this position, put this number in your phone, 612-332-3030. Available 24/7 at 612-332-3030. Online at bailbondsdoctor.com. The doctor is in when you need to get out.
We want to hear from you, so get connected to Pardon the Dissent. You can find us on Facebook by searching for Pardon the Dissent. Follow us on Twitter at PT Dissent. Email us at pardonthedissent@gmail.com and visit our website, pardonthedissent.com. Pardon the Dissent, Joey Vincent, Tony William Met. I want to tell you about our title sponsor real fast here. If it's ever happened to you, you know it sucks. If you've ever been arrested for whatever the reason, maybe DWI, maybe you got caught with a little smoky smoke in the wrong state. But point is, you get arrested, you go to jail, you want to get out of there as soon as possible, right? You don't want to hang out in jail. It's not a place to be. You can't listen to Pardon the Dissent in jail. You want to get out of there, right? So here's what you need to do. If that happens to you, I want you to call Bell Bonds Doctor. Bell Bonds Doctor has many years experience within the bail bonds industry. They are a very professional company, a company that you can trust, and definitely a company I want you to turn to if you're ever stuck in a situation that involves bars and guns and cops. Yeah, definitely call them. First thing I want you to do, though, number one, is go to their website, bellbondsdoctor.com, bellbondsdoctor.com.
visit their website, see how their business runs, check out what they can offer you, all the different things that they have in regards to their business, and then put their number in your phone, 612-332-3030, 612-332-3030, Bail Bonds Doctor. All right, guys, we're talking a little bit about Ferguson on the get-go here, talking about the anniversary of the, again, my words, murder/manslaughter of Mike Brown and the protests that happened in Ferguson. There was also different protests across the country in kind of solidarity to the Ferguson protests, and one actually happened right here in Minnesota where we're at. Hundreds of protesters showed up. They did nonviolent protests. They did die-ins. They blocked some roads. They actually even blocked the light rail train tracks. The light rail system we have here, that was one of the things that they did. But there were some cops there. There was no violence whatsoever. There was actually no arrests. A few motorists got mad and everything like that. But it was really cool because I watched it. I live streamed it when I was preparing for the show today. A friend of mine, Sam Taylor, he is a media activist and a community organizer. And he goes to these events, these protests. He's not a member of Black Lives Matter, but he is definitely a supporter. But he goes to a lot of the protests, be it environmental or social issues or whatever. And he puts up a really good live stream video, and you're able to watch it and kind of see what's going on. So I definitely want to send a shout out to him. If you can find him on Facebook, it's Radical News Media on Facebook, and he's also on Twitter. It's at Wham Swagner, WAMSWAGNER, Wham Swagner. It's kind of like his Twitter alias. But if you're interested in things that are going on as far as the protests and activism and things going on with the environment, definitely check Sam out. He does a lot of work, and he's kind of the guys with boots on the ground, so to speak, when it comes to activism here in the Twin Cities. So definitely support him. Okay, we talked about that. Let's get into this Bernie Sanders thing. This may take us a segment or two, so let's go ahead and jump into it now. This happened Saturday. I'm pretty sure, especially if you're a talk radio listener, you've heard this all day today. Saturday, Bernie Sanders was making an appearance in Seattle. He took the stage, getting ready to speak to thousands of people that had came to see him. But before that could ever happen, some members of, claiming to be members of the Black Lives Matter protest group, two women specifically, Marissa Janae and Mara Jacqueline, I believe I'm getting that right, took to the stage and basically kind of commandeered the microphone and said if they don't get to talk, they're going to shut down the speaking engagement. They were going to take control of the thing. And I'm not going to go into great detail about it. I'm sure if you're listening to this show, you keep up track of what's going on. You've probably seen the videos at this point. There's video available if you haven't. So I want to talk about that a little bit. I want to talk specifically about the divide right now between the different groups of people that are pro and con what these girls did. And I think there was also a gentleman involved as well, too. Okay? Now, just to clarify here, we're not really for sure right now. There's lots of different reports out there, conspiracy theories going on about were these girls actually part of Black Lives Matter? Were they part of some Republican group that they were sent in to disrupt Bernie's speech, or maybe they were also maybe from Hillary's camp or something like that. There's a lot of that stuff going on. So I want to talk from the position that we're just going to assume that they were Black Lives Matter's protesters. Okay, if something comes out later, we'll address that as it comes out later. But it really doesn't matter kind of for the point of what's going on here, okay? The first part, all right, I want to tell you my first reaction when I saw the video. I didn't see it happen live. I watched the video after it had happened, I believe the next morning. And my first reaction is probably the same as a lot of your reactions that I've heard today, was immediately I was like, wait a minute. Why are you doing this to Bernie Sanders, okay? And to explain where I am with Bernie Sanders, if you've listened to the show, I don't have a lot of faith in government and politics in general. But if there's one person right now that I really may change my position on, may actually cast a vote this year on, it will be Bernie Sanders, possibly. We'll get into that later about some of my specific issues with him. But point is he's the only one I have any kind of faith in whatsoever when it comes to politics. And a lot of things that he's saying are very positive in my view. And I also, like many of you, look at Bernie Sanders as the one candidate with the potential to make changes or champion the cause of the Black Lives Matter protesters, right? Okay? So my initial reaction, again, probably like yours, is like, why would you guys do that, right? That's Bernie. That's our buddy. He's in our corner. He's there for you, right? I immediately went to Facebook and I made a joke, on Facebook. I'm like, yeah. The reason they don't do this to Hillary is because they can't afford to get into her speeches, Did the whole kind of thing. But it was after that, right? And a little bit of time of reflection and kind of thinking, about what happened and the impact and the result that I kind of changed a little bit. And right now, currently, I'm in the position where I'm siding with what the protesters did. Okay? And I know that's not going to be a very popular position to a lot of people, because I know a lot of people who listen to the show are big fans of Bernie, and they don't want to see Bernie get embarrassed or anything else. And you guys do have a lot of legitimate things that have been said on a lot of the shows today that this could be perceived as counterproductive, or this could be damaging to the Black Lives Matter movement. But I want to get into that a little bit, and then we'll see if I can change your mind, or maybe you guys can call in and change mine. First, let's start with this part of it, okay? Let's start with this. Let's talk about what is being protested by the Black Lives Matter protesters, okay? It's simply them trying to draw attention to something that's happened in this country literally for hundreds of years. And that is the abuse, murder, and discrimination of black people in this country, right? And yes, it does happen to other people. There's the camp of people, all lives matter, which is absolutely true, okay? But that's not, Black Lives Matter is not trying to disregard everybody else, but it's an actual statistical fact that they are killed at 4 times the rate of white people in this country by law enforcement, okay? So try to absorb that for a second, okay? And specifically if you're a white person, of the type of pressure and fear and anxiety that living in a country where that happens, where that's a fact, think about that impact on you, okay? Understand that, okay? I often refer to the Guardian's The Counted Project, and I think that's something that we should all be tracking, and it's basically an up-to-the-minute, up-to-the-date tally of the people who have been killed by law enforcement. And as of today, when I checked it, there's 708 people have been killed in the United States by law enforcement. And again, I always tell you, it's not everyone that was killed doesn't mean that they were innocent, doesn't mean that they were all unarmed, whatever. But in total, there were 708 people that had been killed by law enforcement, and many of them black people, okay? Another thing I want you to understand is now, I mean, just right now, we're actually finally getting to the point of accepting that there is a problem with law enforcement, and specifically a problem with law enforcement in the excessive rate. I don't even know if that sounds right. There shouldn't be any kind of rate of killing, but the excessive amount of killing of black people, okay? We're just getting to the point of accepting that part of it, just acknowledging it, okay? How many people have died to get to that point? Over the last 200 years, whatever, how many people have died just to get to that point? All right? So we're going to go to break real fast. I want you to think about that right now and just try to visualize yourself as one of these protesters. Imagine your skin being black and understand that you have to wake up every day in a world where these statistics that I just told you affect your life every single day, okay? And then try to get your mind in a place of how would you deal with that? And how long do you think you could put up with that before you did something like interrupt a protest? Joey Vincent, part of the dissent. We'll be right back talking more about this, Black Lives Matter, and Bernie Sanders.
When I saw that checkpoint, welcome to apartheid. Soldiers wear military green at the checkpoint. Automatic guns, that's machine at the checkpoint. Tables not M16s at the checkpoint. Fingers on
Are you a musician or songwriter looking for quality production and recording? Minnehaha Recording Company can help. With over 10 years of experience in recording and production, Minnehaha Recording Company offers recording, mixing, and mastering on any type of project, including full bands, hip-hop artists, and podcast production. For more info, visit minnehaharecording.com or call 612-564-8088.
A rat done bit my sister Nell with Whitey on the moon. Her face and arms began to swell, and Whitey's on the moon. I can't pay no doctor bills, but Whitey's on the moon. 10 years from now, I'll be paying still while Whitey's on the moon. You know, the man just upped my rent last night, because Whitey's on the moon. No hot water, no toilets, no lights, but Whitey's on the moon.
Pardon the dissent.
I wonder why he's upping me.
With the best bumper music in talk radio, that's for sure. Tony, you had I know we got a couple of people online holding who want to talk about that. We've got Sanchez in California. We've got Sam in Brooklyn Park. You guys hold tight for me. If I don't get you in this segment, I will definitely get you in the fourth segment, which is going to be the last segment. And it looks like we might dedicate this whole hour just to this topic. And
I'm good with it.
Yeah. And it just takes a lot of time to consume all this stuff, and I want to do it right. And also, if anybody else wants to call in, we'll try to get you in too. But you had somebody call that didn't.
Yeah, I wanted to note there was a male caller. I didn't get his name.
Okay. Mystery man.
Mystery. I think he's called before.
Okay.
I think he owes us $400 or $500.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah, might be him. I doubt it though.
What was this?
He made a point that the two ladies that wasn't even a conspiracy theory. Those two ladies were indeed paid. That was his belief.
So he's saying that it is absolutely a conspiracy,
right? But beyond a conspiracy, that it wasn't even any question.
How does he know? Does he have some inside information?
We didn't get into it. No.
Okay. Well, I'm not ready to make that, but whatever. Here's Bernie Sanders' response after that happened. This was released on August 8th, I believe. This was after the interruption. I am disappointed that two people disrupted a rally attended by thousands at which I was invited to speak about fighting to protect Social Security and Medicare. I was especially disappointed because on criminal justice reform and the need to fight racism, there is no other candidate for president who will fight harder than me. That's what he said, and like I said in the get-go, I don't argue with that. I think that's absolutely true.
It's about as good a response as you can elicit. Right.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, that's the point I want to talk about, though.
That's kind of speechwriter, his people.
Yeah, but
right.
Bernie sounds like the guy who would maybe that's just his own words. I don't know. But when we left to the break, I was kind of setting the mood in your head, especially the people who are opposed to what who people were assuming are Black Lives Matter protesters. I'm just trying to get you set up to try to, and it's impossible. I'm a white guy. I grew up in a poor areas in my life and from a poor family, and so I've experienced negative behavior with police, but it's still not the same as minorities in this country. So for a lot of you, I was just trying to get you guys kind of prepped to start thinking about that, before you jump to judgment or whatever position that you may or may not already have. You got to understand that there's a lot of raw emotion being dealt with right here, right? And that's kind of what I left with before, is like, if you know that you're of a racial group of people who are, in some cases, specifically targeted, in many cases specifically targeted, and statistically at a much higher average of being murdered, okay, or killed, or whatever word you want to use, the actions that you take under those circumstances may not be the actions that you think are legitimate right now in the world, in the being, in the skin that you live in today. I think that's a very, very important part that we tend to look over a lot, often referred to as from the white privilege angle. But I think even people who understand and appreciate what white privilege is and know that it exists, it's still hard for you to visualize that in this specific case here. And I would add to that is if you're especially a youth, these are younger girls, okay, and you're looking for some kind of way to fight for your right, to protect your race, to protect your people, okay, under those kind of pressures, under those kind of circumstances, it may not allow for a lot of tact. It may not allow for a lot of forethought about how they do things in response to that and how to protest that. So I think that's something that needs to be considered as well too. But overall, I don't even disagree with the tactic, right? And here's what I mean by that. Don't try to dictate what qualifies as a proper protest, especially when it's not a protest that it's connected to you directly anyway. Okay? To try to dictate, and I've heard this on I'm not going to drop names, but I heard this on other shows today, that it was the improper thing to do. It was not the right way to protest, right? Like suggestions were like, you just go in the street and wave signs, right? Well, I hate to tell you this, but they've been people in the street waving signs for years. And the numbers of dead black people isn't slowing down. So you got to do something else, right? And protest and doing what they're doing, it's not about what's convenient at the time for somebody else. This is what these protests are, okay, is the last desperate attempt to non-violently respond to what I think many of us will consider a form of genocide. Okay, it's not all happening at one time like historic events in history, but there's an extermination going on. You can't dictate to somebody who's in that situation, and not everybody's going to respond the same. You know, some black people I would assume, and I heard them on the radio today too, saying that they didn't agree with this. But it's each different people from different life experiences, from different positions and different perspectives. You can't dictate that. I'm a big defender of the road and highway blocking protests. That was one of the things we talked about. One of the first episodes we talked about. We talked about that on one of the first episodes of the show here on AM950. I totally get that, right? And a lot of people would argue that. Well, why are you inconvenience me? I'm not responsible for that. Why are you slowing me down? I got places to go. I got people to see, and you're in the middle of the road. I haven't killed anybody. Well, the inconvenience is, number one, that's part of the reason for the protest, to inconvenience you, to make you stop, to become an issue within your life, because the issue that they're protesting is not in your life. So you overlook it. And you may acknowledge it and you may agree, like, yeah, that really sucks. But it doesn't do anything if you just say, yeah, it sucks, and you turn back around and go back to your life and don't do anything. But with the road protests and blocking the highways, now you're forced to deal with it, right? Because now you're slowed down. Your car can't go anywhere because you don't want to run over anybody. You can't get to the whatever movie you're going to go see or whatever sporting event you wanted to attend. Now you're forced to deal with it. And it may anger you and upset you, but you're going to think about it. And if that happens enough, maybe you'll demand that something gets done. Well, that's what I look about what happened to Bernie, okay? In my analogy, Bernie is the highway. Bernie is the highway that everybody that was attending that event wanted to drive down. And by drive down, they wanted to hear him talk. They wanted to hear what he said. They're excited about Bernie Sanders. They want to support Bernie Sanders. But the Black Lives protesters, they wanted you, under that joyful, exciting moment, to stop and think about what's currently happening. What's happening every single day. I think if we did the math, the rate is over one person a day being killed by cops. Many of them black. Sorry to inconvenience you, but it's your time to think about this, right? You're forced to look at this. You're forced to understand it. Again, maybe they didn't do it the most tactful way. Maybe they weren't the most well-spoken. Maybe they were aggressive. Maybe they were whatever. But you know what? I would be too. I think all of us would if put in that situation under certain life experiences. We're going to be upset. We're going to be angry. We're going to be emotional, and we're going to react. All right? Let's go to break. Let's talk that out. I'll come back. I got a few more things, and we're going to take some calls. But, yeah, man, you got to put yourself there. You got to think. This is more important than Social Security. This is people dying every single day. Pardon the dissent. We'll be right back.
Does anybody else see a problem here? If the government has nothing to hide, why are they so afraid to answer a few questions? This story does not add up.
You support local businesses, so it's time you get to know the locally owned Natural Pure Drinking Water. They're a family business that's been providing water for the Twin Cities since 1986. Their water is purified using reverse osmosis, effectively removing chemicals such as salt, magnesium, iron, fluoride, lead, and calcium, as well as bacteria. Their water is also treated with ultraviolet light to protect against all airborne bacteria. Natural Pure Drinking Water carries a variety of BPA-free bottles. Their bottles include 5 gallons, 3 gallons, 2 gallons, and 1 gallon. Servicing their machines every 30 days. This means you have plenty of options when you're providing water for your home or office. Using Natural Pure Drinking Water makes excellent coffee, tea, and ice cubes, and you can find their water at many local retailers. They're online at naturalpuredrinkingwater.com, and be sure to check out their Facebook page. Ask for Natural Pure Drinking Water at your local grocery store and select co-ops.
If you want to listen to Pardon the Dissent, but don't always have time to catch us live, each show is available as a podcast on iTunes and Stitcher Radio. You can also live stream Pardon the Dissent and listen to us no matter where you're at. Just go to pardonthedissent.com and follow the live streaming instructions.
I eat politicians for breakfast till infinity is endless. Bill and Hillary, George Bush, everybody's getting it. Presidents, Supreme Court, justices, and senators run up in the White House, erase people, edit them, press delete, hit them in the chest with heat. Hail to the chief, bullets everywhere.
Pardon the dissent. Joey Vincent here. Another one of our wonderful sponsors here at Pardon the Dissent, Minnehaha Recording Company. It's owned and operated by Pardon the Dissent's very own Tony Williamette. Tony has 10 years of experience in the recording industry, and he wants to share that with you. So what I want you to do is go to his website tonight, minnehaharecording.com. Check out some samples of some of his past work, see some pictures of his beautiful studio that he has. And when you're ready to record something, when you're ready to put something on tape, DVD, what is it, CDs now, something like that? What do you guys use?
The internet.
The internet's whatever media. But you can put it on a tape if you needed to.
Oh,
right?
if you want to.
Sure, whatever. But yeah, minnehaharecording.com. Check it out. Listen to what he can do, and then give him a call. 612-564-8088. 612-564-8088. Minnehaha Recording Company. This whole show has been dedicated to the, what should we call it, Bernie Gate? I don't know. The interruption. The Bernie interruption? I don't know. I'm trying to think of a clever name for it. But well, I'm joking. It's a serious topic, and I'll remind you guys, I trust that Bernie is the one candidate that can do something about this as much as I know him and as much as I know about him. I trust that he is the one that will care about these issues more than any others. In some cases, the other one's not even at all, depending on who you're talking about, okay? But that being said, it's also us as citizens and as the Black Lives Matter protesters to make sure that he does what he says he's going to do. And I need only remind you about our view of our current president before he was elected and then the changes that happened after he was elected. So I think that maybe we should learn from that and put pressure on whoever's going to be the next president to make sure that they maintain whatever promises they make. I got two guys who have been waiting on the phone for a long time. We're going to dedicate the rest of this time to both of them. Let's start with Sanchez in California. Sanchez, are you there, sir?
Yeah, I am.
Thank you for waiting.
Taking the call, Joey.
Thank you for waiting. I appreciate it.
No problem, man. No problem.
What's on your mind?
I tend to agree with you on a lot of these matters. I just want to remind all the listeners here that here in Southern California tomorrow is the 50th anniversary of the Watts uprisings. I'm a video documentary producer, amongst other things that I do. And over the weekend, here, one of our local public radio stations, KPFK, held an observation. And I taped the entire affair. And one of the main speakers that spoke was discussing all of the conditions that blacks were currently under back in 1965, years before the uprising began in 65. And judging by the way he was talking about things, you would have thought he was talking about Baltimore or Los Angeles in the current time period. You know, the police abuse, all of the racism and bigotry that goes on, and it just seems like black people, although, yeah, in Watts, sure, they've added a few shopping malls, and there's a few banks, and, you know, the streets are paved, and everything looks nicer now. But a lot of the social conditions that you were talking about earlier, the substandard schools, the filthy bathrooms, and, you know, kids having to worry whether or not they're going to be shot by either gangs or cops at this point. You know, they have it rough. Again, let me allow myself to identify. I'm a member of white allies or Latino allies of Black Lives Matter here in Long Beach, okay? I don't technically qualify myself as Black Lives Matter, but I certainly understand what they're going through. And as an activism, I know that at this point, the civil disobedience is the only avenue left that blacks have at this point. And civil disobedience...
it's not. I would argue it's not the last one, but it's the last one that we all want people to take, and that's the peaceful one, because there is a step above, and quite honestly, it's getting to that point. You keep killing enough of my people, I'm going to come at you. And it's getting to that point. So these people need to make that decision. What do you want, people interrupting people talking? Or do you want to let people just say, get tired and say, okay, well, we're just going to play the same game. You kill one of mine, I'll kill two of yours.
Yeah, I know that Rosa Parks was an activist back, in the 1950s, but had she not refused to give up her seat on that bus, maybe we would have had the Black Civil Rights Movement, but maybe it would have been started a few months or years later than that. But civil disobedience is a part of the progressive and activism movement. It was part of workers' rights. It was a part of the women's suffrage movement. It was a part of a lot of different movements where we gained rights or whatever. But civil disobedience is a basic part of our movement.
Right.
And for a lot of not necessarily my personal friends, but friends of theirs, and I'm reading their comments on Facebook, they remind me of the same comments that my parents, I hate to say this, but they were such bigots. They were such racists. And these comments are coming across the same way.
Right.
Unless you've walked a mile in the shoe of these people or lived in their neighborhoods, or in my case, my daughter is a Blaxican. My ex-wife is black. Unless you've experienced it for yourself, you don't know Jack.
Exactly.
And for you to come across and make these kind of statements, I'm sorry, but you don't know. You're out of line here, and you're out of step.
I agree.
What they've done, and I don't. Okay.
Let me cut you off, Sanchez, because I got one other call. I promise I got to get in. Okay. Yeah, I did want to, before I let you go, though, did you had an update from one of the leaders of Black Lives Matter. Can you hurry up and give me that in about 30 seconds?
Yeah, the conspiracy theories that have been going around right now. Here is one of the co-founders of Black Lives Matter. Her name is Patrice Marie Cullors Brignac. Very quickly, she wrote on her Facebook page, and this is an official statement from Black Lives Matter, Mara Jacqueline and Marissa Janae deserve to be treated with respect and dignity. They are a part of Black Lives Matter. I support them in their leadership. Please discontinue harming them through social media. If you have questions about what Black Lives Matter does, please message me. I'm tired of folks not being principled or just hateful for no good reason. BLM did not circulate a petition asking for an apology. Let me say that again. Black Lives Matter did not circulate a petition asking for an apology. We are not circulating articles that are slandering these women's names. Cut this, and I'm changing the word here, crap out, y'all.
All right.
So,
thank you, Sanchez.
Without all of the activities that Black Lives Matter has done, Bernie Sanders wouldn't have hired Simone Sanders as his national press secretary.
Exactly. Thank you. I'm glad you didn't. Everything that he's done thus far is a response to these interruptions. So it's working.
Exactly.
It's working.
And that's why it's working.
All right. Thank you, Sanchez. I got to get to this other caller, man.
Thanks,
we'll talk
man.
again soon.
All right.
All right. Let's go ahead and get Sam on there. Sam, how you doing, sir?
Good, man. How are you doing? Thanks for taking my call.
Hey, thanks for hanging on, man. I'm sorry it took so long to get there. This is Sam Taylor, who I was referring to earlier, who does a lot of local activism here, and I'm trying to find my notes. Where is it at? You have it's the Radical News Media on Facebook and at Sam Wagner on Twitter, correct?
At Wham Swagner.
Wham Swagner, I'm sorry.
A little play on words, my first name and last name.
Right. And you were live streaming the protest today, right?
Thank you, Joey, for having this show, man. I think it's really great that you've been given a platform to raise all these issues on. So just thank you for doing that.
Oh, no problem. It's the least I could do. And again, I thank you as well, too. You're, like I described earlier, you're one of the boots on the ground people who are at one of these protests. You're filming, you're taking pictures, you're talking to people, you're going to different types of protests, drawing people together. You're doing a lot of the legwork, the dirty work that needs to be done. So what do you got today? What can you tell us about the protests that happened today that you attended, and what else is on your mind?
Well, I mean, you pretty much relayed it back pretty well when you covered it earlier. I mean, we shut down a couple of intersections off of Snelling, one off of Snelling and University, and then the other one off of University, and somewhere further down the Midway over by the Western District precinct over there, St. Paul.
Now you told me when we were texting back and forth about this that there were some motorists that were upset about this. Did you get any positive reactions from any of the motorists?
Say that again?
Did you get any positive response from any of the motorists?
Oh yeah. I mean, when we had University and Snelling shut down there, you mentioned that the Green Line was shut down as well. A lot of people hopped off the train and hopped out of their cars, that were parked for a good 5, 10, 15 minutes and came and joined the rally. I mean, those voices seem to outshine all the naysayers that, were a lot fewer, arguably. So
okay.
That was good. One thing that I do want to bring into the topic of conversation is that of symbolic protest, and this is kind of piggybacking off of what Sanchez said earlier, in that civil disobedience definitely is one of our most relevant tactics that we have in the activist playbooks today, but it's going to take a lot more than that. I mean, we've watched nonprofits come and swallow up popular movements. It happened with Occupy. It happened with the anti-globalization movement. It's even happening with Black Lives Matter here locally. I could go into that, a whole tangent on that, but I'll skip past that and just say that the next movement that is going to take out all the institutional racism and sexism and classism and ultimately capitalism is going to have to be a mass movement that combines the labor movement, the indigenous peoples movement, the environmental movement, and now the police brutality movement, if we actually want to have a chance at, living on a stable planet.
I got about 30 seconds here before we end this segment. What do you want to see?
That's just my little soapbox.
No, I appreciate it. I'm glad that you're sharing it with us. What do you want to see? What's one thing that people can do? People who are not involved in activism right now. What's something that you could encourage them to do? What's something that they could do to help the movement? They want to get involved. Where would you point them to? What would you tell them to do?
Well, I mean, it depends on where you're at in society. I mean, not a lot of people, or not everyone, rather, has the economic mobility and able to turn out to every protest or to show up to every organizational meeting. So I say, think global, act local. Organize where you can. Organize in your workplace. If you're a worker, if you're a student, organize at school. If you're just a person that sits around day to day, and collects a check, I don't know how, but organize in the neighborhood. Get the neighborhood together. Talk about how we can address all these issues locally.
All right.
Because it's... Yeah,
I got to let you go, Sam, but thanks for calling, man. We're going to have you back on again, man. Sam Taylor.
Thank you again.
Radical News Media.
The Rusty Gatenby Review is the entertaining show about entertainment from movies, music, and more. Award-winning TV guy Rusty Gatenby and his review is the podcast with the biggest cast in entertainment, part of the Alive and Social Network. You can get that Minnesota connection to Hollywood and beyond any time of the day or night simply by clicking on the RustyGatenbyReview.com. That's the RustyGatenbyReview.com, part of the Alive and Social Network.
Pardon the Dissent. Came back just in time to say goodbye. Again, if I could give anything to follow up the conversation tonight, we could have went on for 3 hours. This is not a topic that you can wrap up in an hour with commercial breaks. You can't do that. But you got to think deeper than yourself. You got to think deeper than your own life experience, your own perspectives. It's hard to do. It really is. Even when you think that you're doing it, you're still not doing it because you can't be other people. But understand that this frustration is real. This fear is real. And people are reacting. They need an outlet. They need to do something. And if you want to stop these interruptions, well, you need to interrupt the violence that's happening. Thank you to my sponsors, Bell Bonds Doctor, Natural Pure Drinking Water, Minnehaha Recording Company, Stupid Simple Branding, Scotty and the Don as well. That's my phone going off. That was unprofessional. Whatever. But we'll be back here next Monday night at 11 p.m. And don't forget the podcast episode comes out by Saturday or Sunday of every single week. So 2 shows a week for you here at Pardon the Dissent. Thank you, guys. See you next Monday, 11 p.m. Keep seeking the truth.
Makeshift patriot, the flag shop is out of stock. I hang myself at half-mast. It's the makeshift, the patriot, the flag shop is out of stock. I hang myself. Don't wave your rights with your flags. Camera.